You were the child who never stopped thinking. While other kids played without a second thought, you were already rehearsing conversations that hadn't happened yet, calculating outcomes that might never come, preparing for disasters only you could see. You weren't born this way. Something taught you that the world wasn't safe unless you thought 5 steps ahead. Maybe it was a parent whose mood you had to predict before walking into a room. Maybe it was chaos you couldn't control, so you controlled the only thing you could, your mind. Maybe it was a home where mistakes weren't just mistakes. They were evidence of your inadequacy. So you learned to think, and think, and think. Because if you could just figure it all out, maybe you'd finally be safe. But you never were. You were just exhausted. The overthinking child isn't born anxious. They're made hypervigilant. Hypervigilance is what happens when a child's nervous system learns that danger could come at any moment. So it never fully relaxes. It scans. It predicts. It prepares. You became a detective in your own home, reading micro-expressions on your parents' face, listening for the tone behind the words, calculating whether today was a good day or a bad one. You learned that love was conditional, that safety was temporary, and that your word depended on how well you could anticipate what others needed from you. So your brain became a machine, not because you were smart, because you were scared. Inside, you felt like you were always on trial. Every conversation became a performance you had to get right. Every silence felt like evidence of something you did wrong. You couldn't just exist. You had to justify your existence, moment by moment, thought by thought. Other kids seemed to move through life with ease. But for you, every choice was a crisis. What if you said the wrong thing? What if they judged you? What if you disappointed them? What if you failed? The questions never stopped. They became the soundtrack of your childhood. And because no one saw how much you were drowning inside your own head, you learned to smile through it. You became the good kid, the responsible one, the one who never caused problems. Because causing problems meant being seen, and being seen meant being vulnerable, and being vulnerable meant confirming what you already feared, that you weren't enough. Psychology calls this cognitive hyperarousal. It's when your mind becomes trapped in a loop of threat detection, constantly analyzing, predicting, and preparing for emotional danger. You weren't overthinking because you were neurotic. You were overthinking because your environment taught you that letting your guard down had consequences. Maybe it was a parent who criticized you for every mistake. Maybe it was instability you couldn't predict. Maybe it was emotional neglect that made you feel invisible unless you performed perfectly. Whatever it was, your nervous system adapted. It decided that if it couldn't control the outside world, it would control the inside one. So you became a prisoner of your own thoughts, believing that if you just thought hard enough, you could finally feel safe. But safety never came. Just more thoughts, more fear, more exhaustion. As you grew up, the overthinking didn't stop. It metastasized. In relationships, you couldn't just be loved. You had to decode every text message, every delayed response, every shift in tone. You created entire narratives about what someone was really thinking, stories built on anxiety rather than evidence. You became an expert at reading between lines that didn't exist. You apologized for things that weren't your fault. You second-guessed yourself into silence. You gave and gave and gave, hoping that if you could just anticipate their needs perfectly, they'd finally choose you without hesitation. But the more you overthought, the more disconnected you became, because you weren't relating to people. You were managing them. You weren't being vulnerable. You were performing safety. And deep down, you knew it. You knew you were exhausting yourself trying to control things that were never yours to control in the first place. At work, you were the person who triple-checked everything, who stayed late, who couldn't delegate because trusting others felt like relinquishing control over your own worth. You didn't just want to do well. You needed to be flawless. Because mistakes weren't just mistakes. They were proof that you were the problem. Every email you sent was rewritten 5 times. Every decision was agonized over until you were paralyzed. You looked successful on the outside, but inside, you were running on fumes, convinced that the moment you stopped thinking, everything would fall apart. So you never stopped. You just kept going, kept analyzing, kept preparing, kept trying to think your way into peace. But peace doesn't come from thinking. It comes from letting go. And letting go is the one thing you were never taught how to do. Here's what you've been avoiding. The overthinking isn't protecting you. It's punishing you. It's the prison you built to keep yourself safe. But you've been locked inside it so long you've forgotten what freedom feels like. You're not overthinking because you're broken. You're overthinking because you were never taught that you're safe just as you are. You were taught that your value is something you have to earn, moment by moment, thought by thought, performance by performance. And that belief has been destroying you. Slowly, quietly, relentlessly. You've been trying to think your way into worthiness. But worthiness isn't something you think your way into. It's something you are. It's something you've always been. Even when no one reflected that back to you. The cost of this pattern is your life. Not dramatically. Not all at once. But in 1,000 small moments where you chose fear over presence. Where you chose control over connection. Where you chose performance over authenticity. You've been so busy trying to predict the future that you've never fully lived in the present. You've been so focused on not making mistakes that you've stopped taking risks. You've been so afraid of being too much or not enough that you've forgotten how to just be. And the saddest part? The people you're trying to please don't even know you're doing it. They don't know how much you're suffering inside your own mind because you've gotten so good at hiding it. So good at pretending everything is fine. So good at being what everyone needs you to be that you've lost touch with who you actually are. Healing starts with recognizing that the overthinking was never about intelligence. It was about survival. It was your child self trying to make sense of a world that felt unpredictable, trying to control chaos the only way you knew how. But you're not that child anymore. You don't need to scan every room for danger. You don't need to rehearse every conversation. You don't need to earn your right to exist. You never did. The first step is simple but terrifying. Notice when you're overthinking. Don't judge it. Don't fight it. Just notice it. Say to yourself, I'm overthinking right now. My nervous system is trying to protect me. Then take a breath, a real breath, deep into your belly. Let your body know that right now, in this moment, you're safe. Because most of the time, you are. The danger is in your mind, not in your reality. Start practicing what psychologists call grounding. When your thoughts spiral, bring yourself back to your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel against your skin? This isn't about positive thinking. It's about teaching your nervous system that it doesn't have to stay in fight or flight mode forever. You need to reparent yourself. That means giving yourself the permission you never got as a child. Permission to make mistakes. Permission to not have all the answers. Permission to be imperfect and still be loved. It means talking to yourself the way you wish someone had talked to you when you were small and scared and trying so hard to be good enough. It means learning that boundaries aren't walls. They're bridges. Bridges to relationships where you don't have to perform, where you can be messy and uncertain and still belong. You need to stop trying to read minds. You need to start asking questions. Instead of assuming what someone thinks about you, ask them. Instead of creating stories in your head, create conversations in real life. Yes, it's vulnerable. Yes, it's scary. But it's the only way to break the cycle. You've been trying to protect yourself from rejection by never fully showing up. But all you've done is guarantee your own invisibility. People can't love who you really are if you never let them see you. And the ones who stay when you're messy, when you're uncertain, when you're not performing, those are your people. The rest were never meant to stay anyway. This isn't a quick fix. You've been overthinking for years, maybe decades. Your nervous system won't rewire overnight. But every time you choose presence over prediction, every time you choose vulnerability over control, every time you choose to trust instead of overthink, you're healing. You're teaching your body that safety isn't something you have to think your way into. It's something you can feel, right here, right now, even in the uncertainty, even in the mess, even in the not knowing. You were the child who thought too much because you felt too much. And no one taught you that feelings aren't problems to solve. They're signals to listen to. You don't need to fix yourself. You just need to come home to yourself, to the part of you that's been waiting quietly, patiently, for you to stop running and just rest. You're allowed to rest now. You're allowed to not have all the answers. You're allowed to be beautifully, imperfectly, authentically human. The overthinking kept you alive, but it's time to let it go. It's time to finally live.